He actually, I think what I find in listening to some of his stuff is that he does use programming metaphors a lot, right? He'll talk about APIs or object-oriented and things like that. So I think that's a useful set of frames for him to draw upon.
I think in general, like Eric Weinstein being someone I've watched quite a lot, is he does lean heavily on like metaphor use, like specialized knowledge. Like you would need to be within that domain and in order to catch the references that he's using when he's trying to talk through analogy. It's kind of similar. So like with me and my friend Bailey, or with like old friends, we went to business class together. So there's a lot of sort of things we learned together that are quite profound, really, on a scientific level, human nature level, from that course, that we can draw on when we're trying to make references now in the future together. Sort of point back to those things that we learned. Eric does the same. He's talking about programming sort of analogies here. I lived in a house with a programmer, and have some programming friends. So speaking to them, they do draw from their fields as well when they're sort of like trying to relay things to you.
For discourse, I haven't pair programmed with him in a very long time.
You've previously
well, I mean, like, looked at his code, trying to help like put together some of the visualizations around these things. But it's been a very not really pair program, but like even looked at his code, right? I mean,
pair programming sounds cool.
Legendary would be is that like Git repo with Peter Wang and Eric Weinstein.
Well, honestly, Robert Kern did all the heavy lifting, so I have to give credit where credit is due. Robert is the silent but incredibly deep, quiet, not silent, but quiet but incredibly deep individual at the heart of a lot of those things that Eric was trying to do. But we did have, as Travis and I were starting our company in 2012 timeframe, we went to New York. Eric was still in New York at the time. He hadn't moved to, this was before he joined Teal Capital. We just had like a steak dinner somewhere. I think it was Keen's, I don't know, somewhere in New York. So it's me, Travis, Eric, like and then Wes McKinney, the creator of Pandas, and then Wes's then business partner, Adam. The five of us sat around having this just a hilarious time, amazing dinner. I forget what all we talked about, but it was one of those conversations which I wish...
I have this window open. How to get subscriptions on Twitch. Apparently you need to gain 50 followers, then you can get a sub button so people can pay you. You need to have 3 simultaneous viewers within the last 30 days. Blah blah blah, this and that.
As soon as COVID is over, maybe Eric and I can sit down,
recreate it
somewhere in LA, or maybe he comes here because a lot of cool people are here in Austin, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, we're all here. He should come here.
Come here.
Yeah.
So he uses the metaphor source code sometimes to talk about physics. We figure out our own source code. So you with a physics background, and somebody who's quite a bit of an expert in source code, do you think we'll ever figure out our own source code in the way that Eric means? Do you think we'll figure out the nature of reality?
We're constantly working on that problem. I mean, I think we'll make more and more progress. For me, there's some things I don't really doubt too much. Like, I don't really doubt that one day we will create a synthetic, maybe not fully in silicon, but a synthetic approach to cognition that rivals the biological 20-watt computers in our heads.
Like cybernetics, like he was on about earlier on.
What's cognition here?
Cognition,
which aspect?
Perception, attention, memory, recall, asking better questions.
Reiteration.
That for me is a measure of intelligence.
Doesn't Roomba vacuum cleaner already do that? Or do you mean, it doesn't ask questions?
I mean, no, it's. So I mean, I have a Roomba, but it's
not
even as smart as my cat, right? So
yeah, but it asks questions about what is this wall. It now new feature asks, is this poop or not? Apparently,
yes. A lot of our current cybernetic system, it's a cybernetic system. It will go and it will happily vacuum up some poop, right? The older generations would.
The new one just released does not vacuum up the poop.
Okay,
this is a commercial for
I wonder if it still gets stuck under my first rung of my stair. In any case, these cybernetic systems we have, they're designed to be sent off into a relatively static environment. And whatever dynamic things happen in the environment, they have a very limited capacity to respond to. A human baby, a human toddler of 18 months of age has more capacity to manage its own attention and its own capacity to make better sense.
than I do.
The world than the most advanced robots today. So again, my cat, I think, can do a better job of my two, and they're both pretty clever. So I do think, though, back to my kind of original point, I think that it's not, for me, it's not question at all that we will be able to create synthetic systems that are able to do this better than the human, at an equal level or better than the human mind. It's also, for me, not a question that we will be able to put them alongside humans so that they capture the full broad spectrum of what we are seeing as well, and also looking at our responses, listening to our responses, even maybe measuring certain vital signs about us. So in this kind of sidecar mode, a greater intelligence could use us and our whatever 80 years of life to train itself up, and then be a very good simulacrum of us moving forward.
So
right?
So who is in the sidecar in that picture of the future exactly? Is it
the baby version of our immortal selves.
Okay, so once the baby grows up, is there any use for humans?
I think so. I think that out of epistemic humility, we need to keep humans around for a long time.
Epistemic. Does he mean like epistemological, or does he mean like epidemic, or does he mean both?
And I would hope that anyone making those systems would believe that to be true.
Out of epistemic humility, what's the nature of the humility that
we don't know what we don't know?
So we don't,
right?
So we don't.
First,
know,
I mean, first we have to build systems that help us do the things that we do know about, that can then probe the unknowns that we know about. But the unknown unknowns, we don't know. We could always know. Nature is the one thing that is infinitely.
In the philosophy of science, epistemic humility refers to a posture of scientific observation rooted in the recognition that A. Knowledge of the world is always interpreted, structured, and filtered by the observer, and that, as such, B. Scientific pronouncements must be built on the recognition of observations. So this is like first principles. First principles thinking, but with the sort of knowledge and keeping in mind that people have subjectivity. So that's what epistemic humility is. So it's to know that we don't have infinite scope, and that our scope is limited, and that we are limited in all sorts of dimensions. And we're limited in like organizational dimensions as well. We can only organize to a certain degree. There might be a better form of organizational structure and stuff like that we're just not able to put things into. Like with maths, some maths is just so good that lay people can't understand it, but then there's like the geniuses that make maths, and above them there's maths that they can't understand yet due to it being generated by artificial intelligence, yet it serves its function. It's just not understandable because of the scope of our minds, which is really scary. That's why he's talking here about giving birth to like something that will precede us. Precede us? No, will come after us. But like a baby, it must grow up alongside us. It's fucking scary.
Able to surprise us. So we should keep biological humans around for a very, very, very long time, even after our immortal selves have transcended and have gone off to explore other worlds, gone to go communicate with the life forms living in the sun or whatever else. So,
yeah.
I think that's for me, these seem like things that are going to happen. Like I don't really question that they're going to happen.